Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to Venusian Womb, a womb journey where dreams are seeded, identities are alchemized, and the journey inward begins.
This season, we are honoring a dream in gestation, a womb journey exploring the sacred phase between dreaming and birthing. It's about the phase where something meaningful is taking shape within you, even if you can't see it yet.
I'm Milena.
And I'm Megan.
Let's begin by taking a slow, deep breath together. Feel yourself arrive, land in your body.
This is a space to pause, to reflect, to connect, and to grow at your own pace.
We invite you to join us as we sit in conversation, share stories, and explore what it really means to be in the process of becoming. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Venusian Womb podcast. We are so grateful to have you join us for our last episode of the season. Woohoo!
We made it!
We have made it. Jesus Christ, I'm so sorry for any headphone users on this platform. Blame Megan. But there's excitement. There's so much excitement. I love it. I love you. There's so much excitement. And I feel like it's not just the ending of this season. It's also just this completion of this entire process of gestation that Venusian Womb has been going through as our brand, that we have individually been going through in our own personal lives, and also this gestation period that Megan and I have been going through in this creative process of Venusian Womb and everything that is going to be born from this gestation period. So yeah, really just honoring this entire process of gestation and honoring this season and honoring each and every single one of you guys that have tuned in and have been part of witnessing this process and have also been gestating the dream within yourselves and being able to remove the layers of what isn't and really reveal what is that dream within you and opening up this dream field with us. What a blessing it is to be able to be connected in this field together. And just kind of bringing us into this episode is gestation. This entire season has been devoted to gestation, which the way we've already spoken about this in so many episodes at this point, but to just reiterate is that gestation is really this process that is required in the creation, in the manifestation of creation energy, and recognizing that in this gestation process, this creation that is slowly taking form, it's shifting, it's reforming, it's reworking itself, and it's going through this continual process of evolution. And in the gestation internally, as we are manifesting our dreams and our desires, is recognizing that this gestation process, it's gestating us as creators, as co-creators in this process. And we're changing and we're evolving and we're growing as we are bringing this dream into creation, so that we can become a match, a vibrational match for this dream, for this timeline where this dream is already manifested. And recognizing that for us to truly be able to bring creation into form in this space and time, we have to become this creation itself. And we've been basically speaking about this entire process of what Venusian Womb and bringing this dream into form, what this has been shifting and reworking and reorganizing within each of us so that we can actually hold the dream of what is being created here internally and then see it manifesting externally. As within, so without. This is one of the main laws of the universe and also of the creative process.
I'm going backtracking. You said honoring gestation. Also, I'm so excited to be done with gestation. I am over it. I'm over it.
It's
The
so
gestation,
uncomfortable.
it's uncomfortable, and there's nothing tangible that comes from it. Nothing. I'm speaking with passion because we have not just been through the process of gestation for this podcast for 2 years now, since we've talked about starting this podcast at Milena's birthday 2 years ago. So to say that, yes, I am very appreciative I do honor all the wisdom that came through gestation, but I'm also really frustrated with what the law of gestation really is. It's the base of the house, like before the even foundation. It's like what's under the house in the dirt that you can't even see, that you don't even know is there. So
Mm.
there's nothing to show for it. And that alone has been such like a cracked us open and like reorganized us, moved us around, mumble jumbled us in ways that you can't even imagine because we couldn't even see or understand why it was happening. But the gestation process, it really forms you from the inside, not out, because you're not going to see any of it, to
Nope.
be able to be the person to hold what it is you're saying you're wanting to create.
And no one
And
else is going to be able to see it also. That's another thing,
mm-mm.
is that people don't see the dream. They don't feel the dream the way that you do. So there's going to be a lot of misunderstanding. A lot of people that don't understand why you're still going.
Yep. And gestation is just such a, it feels like a pressure cooker. Like, it doesn't feel good. It wasn't like a fun vibes to be working with. It was necessary. And I will never downplay or try to skip gestation because I understand the importance and the value that it holds in the creative process. But I'm also not going to sugarcoat or make it sound lovely because it's not. It really
No.
isn't. It's uncomfortable. It's like the space of growth of meeting so many parts of yourself that need to be transmuted, need to be alchemized, need to be moved so that you can actually move forward in the gestation so that you can get to the next space, which foreshadowing birth. But I mean, if you didn't really figure that out already, then you're a little slow, but it's okay.
I want to speak to the learning curve in the process
Mm,
of gestation, because it's been, yes, it's been the internal reworking and reforming and becoming aware of so many parts of self. It's actually crazy how many parts of us, are within us to form our wholeness, and how many parts of the subconscious mind that need to become conscious to be able to integrate them and then embody more of this iteration of ourselves that can hold our creation. And a big part of that, this gestation process, it's just blown open the subconscious mind to bring so much more things into our conscious awareness. And then within that, to be able to integrate these parts of ourselves that have been operating subconsciously and have maybe been getting in the way, mostly getting in the way. And it's been a part of like letting go of these parts, integrating these into wholeness,
yeah.
into love. Because then if we're shaming them, we're exiling them, they're going to still be there, and
Mm,
they're going to act out because they want love and they need
yeah.
love. And so the more that we actually shame them, the more that we're creating this inner resistance within ourselves in the creative process. And I think also just within that, right? Within this, like, now all these things are coming into our conscious awareness, which is lovely because now we get to
Yeah.
meet them and integrate them and all the things, but it feels uncomfortable as hell. And
Mhm.
also our identity, it's these parts, they're coming into our awareness. And so maybe these other parts that we've held very, very, very closely is like, this is who I am and this is my identity, they also are being let go. And then we're recognizing and meeting all of these newer parts of ourselves as well.
Yep.
So it's like it's been a process of letting go and reclaiming at the same time to integrate all of these different parts into wholeness, and allowing all of these parts to exist as we become aware of them. And then also in that, in the creative process itself, recognizing that there is no validation, there is nothing that can be seen, because this is all happening internally and it's
Mhm.
necessary. We can't bypass that. Good luck. You'll be in this creative process, stuck in the same spot for a very, very long time, until you're able to go through this process internally to then be able to bring your creation forward into the world. And it's been a very uncomfortable part. There's been a lot of void. We've been swimming in the primordial soup of the unknown, not knowing who we are as individuals, because there's a lot of reforming and reworking
Mhm.
and shifting happening. Uh, and also not knowing sometimes where the creative process is even leading us, because, like we said, there is no actual physical manifestation of the creation itself. So there's nothing that we like tangibly have to show for it. Look at me. Look what I did. Look at the thing. We don't have that oftentimes in the gestation, or we do. and people don't care. Like, it's not maybe getting the validation that we want. And so that process is part of the process. And it's something that everyone inevitably goes through when they are bringing a creation forward. And so, really speaking to, yeah, we're not sugarcoating gestation. It is necessary. It is uncomfortable. It will definitely show you a lot of parts of yourself that you need to see and integrate to be able to continue to bring this creation forward, especially after it births, because then once it's born, there's a responsibility to it. You are now responsible for this creation and to continue to nurture this creation. So, which you can kind of still hide a little bit from. You don't need to be in this like leadership when it's still not tangible, it's still not formed, people don't see it. But the moment that it is born, there is a level of responsibility that is required for you in this creation. And so that gestation, it's preparing you for that responsibility.
And I wanna add, like, as you were speaking, like, it's the gestation's gonna show you parts of yourself. Gestation isn't just asking you, "Well, what do you wanna create? What is the creation gonna look like?" It's gonna ask you, "What parts of you are you willing to let die to allow the creation to actually flow through you clearly?"
Mhm.
Because if you're not allowing or you're not creating that space because we can't hold all these parts we were and then all this new stuff is coming in, it's like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 there's too much here now." So you gotta let some things go. And that's where if you listen to our last episode, we talked about a lot of the lessons we learned. That was a lot of the things that we were releasing and had to let go of in order for the gestation to for us to allow again, it comes back to that consent too, allowing the gestation to move you, to move through you, to deconstruct you. And there's also a big piece that in this process of gestation, we have built capacity in our actual nervous system, our actual bodies that we did not have at the beginning of the year. We could not hold half of what we were hosting 2 circles a month at the beginning of the year. Now we are hosting a circle a month. We're launching a podcast a week. We're trying to get a blog post out a week. We have a collective that we're working on. We have something that we're going to be telling you guys about at the end of this episode. And all of this, there is no way, like, again, we're still learning to balance it all. Let's not get it twisted. We don't have this figured out. There's no formula. But we would not have been able to do this had we not gone through what we've gone through for the past 2 years and especially the beginning of this year. And this process has literally expanded us in ways to hold the women that are going to be birthing these creations and reformed us into our embodiment and into leadership from a space of like, "Oh, I could hold this," and not from a space of, "Oh my god, this is too much. I'm collapsing and dying." Even though it does feel like we're collapsing and dying some days, we're still figuring out how to expand our capacity appropriately and not too fast in ways that are sustainable.
Mhm.
But gestation is a part of that process of how we do that.
It will
Um,
expand your
yeah.
capacity in every which way to hold the unknown, to hold the responsibility of what you're birthing and what that's going to ask of you, and also to hold the process, to hold the creative process of knowing that you're not fully in control. And there is also a level of surrender that's required in this. And I think that this does kind of bring us into this internal work that happens within the gestation process. And I want to speak to some things that we've alchemized or have been alchemizing. It's literally a present moment continuous process. But one of those things is control, is recognizing that we do not have control over the ways that our creation is received by the world, the ways that it's taking form, the pace at which the creation is taking form, also what the creative direction is. And a big part of this process of creating Venetian Womb and building this community from the roots up. We're not even talking ground surface level. We're talking like excavating all of the weeds
Mhm.
underneath the soil that are sustaining the foundation of this dream. And this is also the reason that we have also done this is because we are creating a dream that is sustainable beyond time, that is a legacy that will hold itself and can truly grow into something big. And a big part of that is being super intentional right from the start. And that has required us to let go of control. We've had frameworks, we've had plans, we've had timelines, we've had to let all of those go and surrender to the creative process as it is naturally unfolding right now in real time. And
Mhm.
being able to redirect, being able to have trust in God, in divine orchestration and divine timing, and knowing that yes, we have these frameworks to kind of hold us in the creative process, but then also knowing that we have to have the openness and the receptivity to also listening to what's being called of us, what our creation actually needs, and not what we want, but what it needs for it to continue to take form. And not rushing, not forcing, not trying to force this to be faster, to look a certain way, but really honoring the ways that the creation is starting to take form and the ways that the creative process is unfolding.
And
And
how we have to course correct, like listening to the needs between me and Milena, like, what do you need? What do
yes,
I need? And listening to the needs of the
huge.
people we are serving. Because if we a big lesson I think we've learned in circles this year too is we might have had a circle planned to be the way it was, but then whatever got excavated in circle, we have to course correct in that moment. And that's part of that gestation period too, right? Of like whatever's coming up, you can't keep forcing something, pushing something if it's not working. Even if you have if that's like, but this is how I want to do it. But this is where I see I'm going and we're supposed to be here in 2 weeks. If it's not happening, it's not happening. And you can't force it. You got to listen and you got to slow down to the process, to following what is actually being asked of you in that moment instead of what you think is being asked of you. And that's two very different things.
Yes. Yes, that is exactly it. And that's the thing too, is that our creation of Venusian womb, it would not be sustainable in the ways that it is if Megan and I did not learn how to speak to our needs and honor each of our own capacity and recognizing that we're in this for the long run. And a big part of what that means is not trying to like go full force, foot on the gas, and like let's really just like hone in and use all this discipline and show up and like do the thing. And it's like that is part of the process. Yes, sometimes you do have to put the foot on the gas, but you also need to learn when you got to put the brake and
Mhm.
when you got to maybe take a step back and actually not work on it at all to be able to then know how to move forward.
Which that even clarity, I think what we've really learned this year too is through gestation that only once you move, only once you take the steps forward will it become clear. Nothing is becoming clear if you're just sitting there. Nothing becomes clear if you don't do anything.
You're just
Nothing
thinking about
becomes
it.
clear if you don't make mistakes. It becomes clear along the way.
You're telling me I can't bypass like all mistakes and just try to do it all perfectly from the get go?
I mean, did it work for us?
No, absolutely not.
So no.
And that brings us into what's been destroyed or what is continuing to be destroyed, which is the urgency to be seen, the urgency to have this creation tangible in a way that you can actually be like, hey, look, this is what I did. Look at my thing. Look at what I did. Like that, the wanting to be seen, the wanting to receive recognition for your creation, the need for this external validation, the belief that everything's going to make sense once it's already manifested and everything's just going to work out and everything's just going to be great and then it'll create and then that's it and then it's created and that's all that's required.
Mhm,
It's like no no. um yeah, no, that's there is a level of, like I said, responsibility of this creation once it's taken form and recognizing that it happens in divine timing. And you could already have created the thing, you could have gone through the birth, and again, you still might not receive the external validation. And that's why a big part of this process is knowing your why.
mhm,
Why are you doing this? Why is this valuable? What is pushing you forward and allowing you to continue to be in devotion to this creative process? That is going to validate you more than anyone else ever will. And it'll also, it's a level of self-assurance that no one else can take away from you.
mhm. Yep. And then I guess that brings us to what we've rewritten leadership as embodiment, bleeding from your own experience, from your embodied experience, and practicing what you preach. That's really it. You got to practice what you preach. And even coming back to that need for external validation in what's been destroyed, that faith in what you're doing with that why. that co-creation with God is what anchors you in this creative process, what anchors you in the gestation, what you come back to when you feel like you want to give up and throw the towel in and abandon ship. You got to come back to your faith, to your why, because there's many, again, there are many times we both wanted to abandon ship. We never did. And we both knew we weren't going to. But the reality of what we were feeling in those moments was, are we doing this?
We had many
What's the
tantrums.
point? Many, 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 many tantrums. And in that, because it's in this process of being reformed, readjusted to hold our dream, that's impacting every area in our life. Not just this dream that we're trying to build. It's impacting our relationships with ourselves, with our friends, with our family, with routine, everything. So it's like this continuous reforming and realizing, oop, I don't fit here. Oop, I don't fit here. What about over here? What about over here? And then, oh, that relationship, that's actually, it's a lot. Like, it really is a lot. It's not easy, it's not fun, but it's so illuminating, and it does bring a lot of clarity. And when you can get out of your own way and kind of see what it's doing for you, that's when you can surrender. That's when you could step into it and be like, "Okay, but this is what it's asking of me. This is what's
Mhm.
being asked of me, to hold this, to be this. I say I wanna do this. I say this is what I wanna bring forth, but what does that actually mean for the person that's going to hold it?" Um, and I think that's honestly one of the most important parts of gestation, is that it's not just what you're creating, it's you. How are you being recreated? Because if you're going to resist it, which you will. We did many, many points along the way. But if you continuously resist it and you don't eventually give in,
Surrender.
the creation is not going anywhere. You can't control it. You can't rush it. You can't mold it the way you want to mold it. It's going to be its own entity, kind of like a baby, kind of like a child. You don't get to like force your child to be the way you want it to be. You could try. That's going to come with its own repercussions, but it's a collaboration with your creation, with yourself, with your life as a whole.
There's this beautiful perspective of we don't get in life what we want, we get who we are. You get in life who you are. And
Mhm.
that's the thing, is that the gestation process, it's shifting who you are so that you can receive what it is that you want, and you're able to even hold it when it actually does take form and
Mhm.
manifest. And that is true coherence, like energetically, with our intention and what it is that we're bringing into creation, and then how we're showing up on a daily basis and how we perceive ourselves internally. And a big part of this has also been feeling worthy, feeling worthy of the dream, feeling worthy of receiving, feeling worthy of birthing something beautiful into the world. And I think just like that value, just feeling your own value and your own self-worth and your own validation, for what it is that you're creating, that's something that when you speak to your creation, once it actually is able to take form and that timing does orchestrate, like, you're speaking from a place of embodiment, you're speaking from a place of conviction, you're
Mhm.
speaking from a place of knowing what it is that you have created and the value that it has to offer, that it's magnetic.
Mhm.
You become a magnet for just for your creation itself, because of how it's shifted and gestated you in the process of it becoming, like, in to become into form. Mhm. And I think a big part of, we're talking about the sacred pause before birth. We're talking about, we've been going through this major gestation process. And now we're slowly nearing the end of this internal work. And again, there's always going to be internal work. Let's be real here. You're still going to be gestated as you're continuing to bring this creation into form, because it's not just going to take on one form and then remain permanently in that form forever. Like, no, no, no. Your creation will keep evolving along with you. But that major moment of, like, this intangible inspiration and inner guidance that's finally taking form for the first time, there is almost this pause that happens right before this creation manifests. And that pause is so incredibly important. That pause is the integration. Because, like we said, gestation, it can be a lot. There can be a lot of things that have come into your awareness, and a lot of lessons that you've learned, and a lot of experiences that you've endured. But the integration is just as necessary
Mhm.
as the gestation itself and as the birth. And we have to give ourselves the time to integrate everything that has come through in the gestation. All of these different parts of ourselves, that have come online, that we've become aware of. Maybe there's parts of us that are still activating to our nervous system. They still provoke this feeling of like unease. And that integration, that pause is the time to sit with those parts and to breathe into those parts and to just meet them. Sometimes we don't even have to know why they're there. We don't need to know the story around them. We just need to meet it and ground ourselves in these parts and recognizing that the more that we can do that, the less that they're going to have this like emotional intensity or weight that they may feel now. And also recognizing that that's part of the integration of the nervous system. Because when the nervous system receives so much awareness, we have so much awareness coming through of ourselves, it can be very confronting. It can be very activating. And it's like Megan said, it's expanding our capacity in many ways. And also, we do need to take that pause to just kind of give our nervous system a little bit of time to just
Mhm.
settle. That awareness, it's a whole lot of activation quickly sometimes can feel overwhelming. And so before we birth and like then are now have this responsibility for our creation, can we take a moment before that? And then there's a lot of excitement. The excitement wants to release it yesterday. But again, and we've learned this because we've definitely released things before we should have.
They
And
were
then it
ready.
had to
Backtrack.
see, they were ready, but we weren't ready yet. Guys. And that's why we're like, guys, let's integrate and take a pause before the birth
Mhm.
because that birthing process, which we'll get into and later on, there's going to be other lessons and embodiments that will come through in that process.
Mhm.
So yeah, the importance of integration and ensuring that what that this creation that's come forth, that you are resourced enough to hold it in this birth. Yeah, I feel like that's
Yeah.
that's mostly speaking to the pause. Do you feel anything to add, Megan?
Nope, it's allowing it to come to completion. And then I think that guides us really beautifully into what we want you to take away from gestating the dreams. And these are not personal truths, these are literal gestational truths that have come through in this process. And again, we've been on this for 2 years now. We know what we're speaking about. So, number one, you do not rush what is real. You can't. It's not possible. It's going to unfold in its own timing. Two, desire does not always feel like excitement, even when we want it to. Sometimes it just feels like devotion. Three, if something is meant to be born, it will ask you to slow down first, even if you resist it, even if you don't want to slow down first, it will. And you're going to eventually give in to the slowing down to allow for the propelling forward. Four, confusion is often a sign of reorganization, not failure. And it will feel quite heavy. And that's when you're going to want to throw in the towel and you're not going to want to do it anymore. And that's when you anchor in with your why. Five, the womb knows when it is time. The mind usually only finds out later, much later, may I add, maybe months, years later. But once you are planted, seated with a dream, your body is going to have a visceral reaction to it that your mind will not comprehend. And your mind will try to make sense of how to bring it forth, how to make sense of it. And it's just not. Whenever you can, release the urge to want to make sense of it and just follow those little golden intuitive nuggets along the way because that's going to be your gold. That's going to be your guiding compass and not the way the mind is going to want to do it. Because gestation teaches us patience without passivity and presence without force and faith without guarantee.
There is something that I feel so deeply called to share right now, and that is the fact that when we are in gestation, knowing that when you are creating something that is going to stand the test of time, that is going to stand these external forces and factors of how the world outside of you is going to evolve in the future, is recognizing that this period of bringing this creation forward and sharing it to the in the world and it being able to actually be received, that process, it's going to take as long as it needs
Mhm.
because oftentimes we receive the inspiration and we want to bring it into the world quickly and we just want to share it, and it comes from this beautiful place. It does come from a very loving place and a place of wanting to be in service and wanting to support people. And recognizing also that to create something that has that long-term sustainability, it is going to take more time in the creative process. And we're not creating to just blah, like let me just put something out in the world and like not actually think about its future once it's already out. And that's why we see a lot of these, we see a lot of people and they start things and then they give up. And then they throw in the towel. Maybe it's after it's been birthed, maybe it's in the process of it being birthed, but it's not sustainable. And so when we're talking about legacy and we're talking about what it is that we want to leave behind in this world, to leave the world a better place than how it was when we came here, that's something that, again, why rush it? We have a whole lifetime. We have a whole lifetime to leave behind this legacy and this impact that it does when we're able to like zoom out and to see it in the grand scale of our lifetime, it does kind of help a little bit in the creative process while we're in it. Because the ego wants to go, like the ego, it wants to release it right away and it's excited. And again, it comes from a great place, but we're talking sustainable dream setting. We're talking about sustainable creation. And that's something that it is going to take a bit more time because we're growing roots. We're creating a really solid foundation that we are then building off of and continuing to expand our creation on this foundation. So there's importance in that. And I think that especially when we're talking in this world, we want things quickly and we want things instantly and we want to get that validation quickly, and recognizing that there is a level of sacrifice that is required for your creation to be able to be sustainable. And it's always worth it. Because again, we're thinking lifetime. We're thinking in our whole lives, what's something that we feel we want to bring to the world. And so that's been a big lesson. That's been a big lesson and I know for myself with this work this is something that I want to stand the test of time. This is something that I want to continue to grow for decades after this point of its initial birth.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so willing to take the time now to really build it on a foundation that is so incredibly strong and anchored and grounded so that
Mm-hmm.
it can stand that test of time.
Could stand any storm.
Any any fucking storm.
Mm-hmm.
And we had this metaphor, we've already done this, of like the flower, how beautiful it is to birth a flower and to have a flower blossom and bloom and to see its beauty. But then there's a gust of wind and just it just wipes the whole flower, roots and all. It's just gone like the wind. And you can tell people, no, but it was the most beautiful flower. It was the most beautiful flower that I've ever seen. But if you had just seen it, it's just not here. Why? Because
Anymore.
it didn't have any of those roots. Just with a gust of wind, it was able to take away the entire grounding structure of this entire plant. Regardless of how beautiful it is, it's not there. And so that's the thing is, however, on the contrary, we may have a little seedling and it's growing and it may not have all these petals and it may not be this like beautiful, beautiful flower yet, but it has a solid, solid roots and foundation that any gust of wind, even though it's smaller and it's still in its seedling form, it's not being thrown away by the wind. It's still there. And it's standing the test of time and it's being able to withstand these external forces that are outside of our control. So that is the metaphor and that is what we're really honing in on when we're in this gestation process because it's uncomfortable, but we want to get out of it. We want to be out of the gestation process quickly because it's so uncomfortable, but it's
Mm-hmm.
necessary because in that discomfort, we're growing the roots and we're growing them really, really, really deep and expanding them. So it can withstand the internal storms and the external storms that are outside of our control.
Mm-hmm. So now that we've wrapped up gestation, we are really, really excited to share what's to come, especially as we allow this sacred pause to be before we birth. So, season 2 of the Venusian Womb podcast is going to be Venusian Codes, Volume 1, which is going to be a shorter series of lessons. We're going to have more visuals. So if you are listening on Spotify, you will be able to see the video there as well. But we're really making this for YouTube, but it'll still be available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. But we do recommend if you have time to sit, the episodes are going to be shorter too, maybe 20, 25 minutes max. And our inspiration is from the lessons we typically give in our womb circles, our women's circles. and we're going to be recycling, revamping, but also tuning into what is needed week by week. It's going to be, if anything, we've also learned this whole season one. How we've been doing podcasts is definitely going to shift a little bit to be more sustainable for us, and also to really follow the flow of what is happening in the moment, because we can't create structures for a whole season for something that we're filming in 2 months, because what we've seen is whatever we planned 2 months prior is not what's actually happening 2 months later. So we're learning to honor what's really present in the moment, and that's why we're gonna start with these series, these lessons, and see how that unfolds. But you can expect to be getting lessons from us on that are inspired by our Women's Circle series, the Chakra series, the Goddess series, the Elemental series, this Law of Gestation, and we're going to adapt and see what comes through for you guys. And also, we'd love to hear from you to know maybe we can make particular lessons to reflect what it is you are moving through, to reflect what's going on in your life, because we are a collective here and we want to also be creating for you and not just from our own life as experience, even though we tend to reflect a lot within each other. But Venusian Codes Volume 1 will be season 2 of the podcast, and it's going to be different. And we're really excited to bring that for you guys.
For all of my visual people, this is going to be super helpful because I find that sometimes these kinds of lessons are so nuanced, they have so many layers. They can be quite complex when we're really breaking them down to all of their smaller parts. And so having a visual to be able to just kind of encompass these bigger lessons is so helpful. And it's one
Mhm.
of my favorite things that we do in terms of prepping for our circles is being able to really translate this wisdom and these golden nuggets into something that we can really hold on to and
Mhm.
integrate further in our own lives. So, yeah, so excited. So excited for this new version of how our podcasts are going to look like. I do also want to say that we are going to be birthing our collective. So, backtrack. We already did birth our collective. Basically, when this podcast came out, and we were so excited. We were so excited about it, and we realized quite quickly after we had birthed it that it still needed to be gestated. And everyone within the field of our collective also needed to gestate with us. And one of the things that we learned from that process, which we also did create an episode on, I think it's the reframing failure, one of those, was that it was beautiful for us to collect data of where people are at and what are some layers of resistance that people are meeting to be in connection and to also be in co-creation.
Mhm.
And the foundation of what Venusian womb represents is it is a space for connection and for co-creation. And so how could we possibly create a collective for that purpose if we don't know as individuals how to be in connection with each other, how to be in connections with ourselves? And I'm not talking this masking performative connection of I'm going to connect with you so that you can perceive me in the ways that I want to be seen, but this true authentic connection and vulnerable relating and the beautiful process of that, of like really owning yourself, of being able to liberate yourself from a lot of these masks and a lot of these stories of how we want to be perceived, and also then co-creating. Oftentimes we don't know what it is to co-create, to create with others, to co-create with whatever other things are also part of this creative process. So we are creating a course that is basically going to inform the field, this dream field that we are creating within the Venusian Moon Collective. And this course is going to bring you through a process of understanding and experiencing what it is to be in connection and in co-creation. That way we are learning how to be open, how to be receptive, how to meet our own dream first before we come into the field and begin to start working with it and being witnessed in community. Yeah. Is there anything you want to add,
Mhm.
Megan?
No, my dog started barking, so I got a little like, oh, I need to pause, but nope, that's it.
And then our other foreshadow is, I mean, I mean, we did just talk about the pause before birth. And so that would insinuate that there will be a birth
Season
process
3.
after. So that will be our season 3, is we are going to go through the process of birthing the creation.
There's something I want to say, but I think we're going to let it linger a little longer. We'll let it come out closer to then. Anyways, just know there's something else in the works as well that we're not going to tell you guys about yet.
Now I want to know. It's okay. I guess we'll just leave you on this. We'll leave you on this note and just make you wonder.
Yeah, leave you on the final blessing. We have a final blessing here. If you are in a pause right now, trust it. If you are between identities, honor it. If you feel full but unseen, stay. The womb is not empty. She is listening. Thank you for gestating with us. Thank you for staying when nothing was clear all season long. And thank you for trusting the dream before it had a name. We'll meet you in the codes.
Thank you for joining us inside the Venusian womb. If this episode spoke to something within you, we'd be so grateful if you left us a review or rating. It truly helps our podcast grow and reach more beautiful souls who are on this journey of becoming.
You can also share this episode with someone who may resonate with this message. Sometimes the right words arrive exactly when needed the most. Remember, growth takes time, and everything you're becoming is unfolding exactly as it's meant to.
May this Venusian code activate the Venusian energy within you. Until next time, take a breath, trust the timing, and keep tending to the dream within.
With love, Milena and Megan.